Hi. We're going to be reviewing the October 9th episode of Dynamite. And this started off with a tag tournament match. Tag tournament match, which was the only match out of that tournament on this card. But we're going to start off with that since that was the first match on the card. This match very much surprised me a lot because it wasn't the same old tricks that we saw on the first 4 pay-per-views. Like, in the first episode of Dynamite, only had one tag match, and that was there to continue a storyline and create feuds and stuff like that. What with the Inner Circle making themselves known. Which I wish the Elite would do in the last episode. I said I would talk about that. I didn't get around to it. That was my botch on a video watch. But just focusing on that tangent here for a second, I really wish the Elite would make it official on who's in the club. I mean, you got Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega. And Hangman Page is part of the Elite as well. Those are confirmed. I know that Hangman Page is part of the Elite because when Dustin Rhodes got attacked and beat up at the end of the first episode, there was a video on YouTube where on All Elite Wrestling, or it might have been Being the Elite. They're always interchangeable. But Dustin Rhodes looked up at Hangman Page and said, "I was out there, man, and I'm not even in the Elite." So Hangman Page and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, that's 4. Is Cody part of the Elite? Is Brandy part of the Elite? What's going on with MJF? Like, the Inner Circle stood out there all lined up, and Chris Jericho introduced each person. He introduced each person as their individual names and what they could do, and he said, "This is the Inner Circle," and then the following episode, they have the T-shirts on. With the Elite, if somebody said 100% sure, tell me all of the people in the Elite, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's getting on my nerves. A real stable has a theme song, and they have either the symbol on their attire somewhere, or they wear T-shirts. That's a real stable. But anyway, that's a side thing. The first match on the October 9th episode was a tag tournament match between Private Party and the Young Bucks. It very much surprised me because it wasn't the same old tricks. It wasn't always flips. It wasn't always somersaults. It wasn't always like throwing each other through the air. There was spots involved with that. There was high hitting. There was the high aerial maneuvers, yes. But there was also the slams and reversals. And there was a lot of maneuvers that combined agility and power. Like, there was one where I can't remember which of the... I can't remember. I think it was Matt Jackson. He nailed a running power bomb onto one of the members of Private Party, right onto the steel ramp, man. And the guy was like grabbing his back. He's like, "Oh shit!" He was out for a while, man, and he was hobbling around after that. He was kind of like grabbing his back and stuff. I think that actually hurt him quite a bit. But we finally saw a power bomb, like a regular power slam move. Like, we need to see more of that. Definitely. I was really, really, really happy to see that. And that took him out of the match for a while, and then they continued back and forth, and that it was really good. The timing of the moves was really excellent. Like, things like an example, the first match that MJF wrestled on the episodes against Brandon Cutler, where MJF was down like this and the ropes was here, and Brandon Cutler flipped over. The time it took Brandon Cutler to flip over took too long. The timing was off. In Private Party defeating the Young Bucks, the timing was perfect. And even towards the end, when the Young Bucks went to hit the Meltzer driver, they had Nick Jackson I believe it was, holding the member of Private Party, and then the other guy from Private Party grabbed Matt Jackson's leg, or Nick Jackson. I know it's the quality of these videos are getting better. I need to remember the names. Anyway, the other member of Private Party pulled the Young Buck off the ring apron, and I think it was Matt Jackson. He hit his head on the ring apron, and he fell back. And then in the match, the Nick Jackson holding Private Party member there was reversed, and then the guy got on the top rope, and they hit a double team diamond cutter on the Young Bucks and scored the victory. And I thought that was a really good match. The action was back and forth. There was power moves. There was power slams. There was an even offense throughout, and it seemed to be more utilized in the match. It was very good, and it didn't really create a feud. There was no feud created because they're both faces. This and this together, they're both faces. They're obviously faces. So you don't really get feuds between faces. Usually it's a face and a heel going against each other. Sometimes you get two faces going against each other, like Cody and Dustin Rhodes, but that was like a family thing and a generational thing. They made it work. Cody's a face. He never was a heel. The American Nightmare, to me, it's like he's a nightmare to assholes. That's what I think. But anyway, there was no feud because they're both faces. It was a good match. There was power moves. There was aerial maneuvers. The timing was perfect. It was a great match. I would give that an 8 out of 10. Definitely. Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc. Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc for the #1 contendership. It was finally a chance to see what they can do individually, because up until this episode, all both of these guys showed me is that they know how to take a beating and hit people with objects. That's all they showed me. I didn't see anything from either one of these guys before this episode where it made me sit back and say, yeah, they know some offense. I saw a little bit of that from Jimmy Havoc on the pay-per-view at All Out when they were in the Cracker Barrel Clash with Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc, and Joey Janela. I started seeing some like offense and striking maneuvers and tripping maneuvers and stuff like that to throw the other person off of the game, so they can't quite actually stabilize and attack Darby Allin. So he seemed to be good at getting rid of that stability against his opponent, which was surprising actually. But that was only one little spot in the match. Like I wasn't able to really say I was able to see what any of these guys can do one-on-one. But this match changed that a bit. There was a fireman's carry suplex that was hit on Darby Allin into the turnbuckle, and then he ran into him and nailed him. And Darby Allin did his patented like running across the rope, and then I thought originally when Darby Allin comes up on the top rope and he has the other guy, and then he runs off the ropes, and then he jumps and the other guy flips over. I thought the other guy was just flipping, but I looked closer, and the other guy may be flipping obviously, but Darby Allin has the arms locked up, and then he takes the other hand and grabs the guy, I think around the hips or something, and pushes and gives like there's double hand contact. It really increases the ability that Darby Allin's opponent is actually being thrown. When I saw that, it actually increased my ability to buy into that move. I was actually very surprised. Darby continued to kick out of Jimmy's attempted pins and strikes and stuff like that. And and then Darby Allin did a front flipping jawbreaker where he stands behind the guy and flips up around and lands like this, and the guy gets the jawbreaker or neck breaker or whatever, and then flies back. And that after that point, the momentum of the match changed. But I think because Darby Allin was getting the win, they allowed Jimmy Havoc to have more of the offense, because the offense, I would say, was being dominated by him. But in the end, it was Darby Allin who got the victory. Uh, you know, it definitely showed me a wider array of arsenal for Jimmy Havoc. Darby Allin did a front foot jawbreaker. You know, it led into a coffin drop, and that's where how he won the match. But it was just a quick reversal, jawbreaker, jump on top of the top ropes, jump off, do a coffin drop, pin him, and one. It was like a surprise reversal into a burst of energy finisher, pin him in one. It was like a quick ending spot that was added in. But all the match before that, I mean, of course it was back and forth, but it definitely was way more favored on Jimmy Havoc's end. Jimmy Havoc definitely, I think, showed people that he's able to do more than just hit people with stuff and get beat up. I ended up with more respect for Jimmy Havoc than I did Darby Allin. Because even today, Darby Allin needs to develop his offense, because right now all he's doing is showing me that he knows how to take a beating. I'm sorry. He knows how to take a beating and jump off the top rope and land on people. Like, that's it. You need more than that. But still, I think this was 7 out of 10. There was effort. The match wasn't too short. It had a great stipulation, which in itself adds a few points. It showed Jimmy Havoc's ability, which was really needed. And Jimmy Havoc seemed to be a little bit more built. His arms and like the side of his chest there seemed to be a little bit more toned up, and he needs to tone up. You need to convince people that you can win, and if you're a beanpole, you're not going to convince people that you can win. So I could be wrong, but it looks like Jimmy Havoc has actually been working out a bit, and I ended up with a lot of respect for him. And I would think that they never really made this known. But is there a few possibility? Because these guys are both hardcore, more so towards the hardcore style. The thing is, when you're more towards the hardcore style, you're more towards like a temper. Like, you got a bad temper, you don't care, you'll hit people with anything. You're quick to anger type thing, right? So is that mentality going to affect the way they look at each other? Is there going to be a feud there? I think there is a possibility for a feud there, definitely. I definitely believe that. There's a TV title teased. There's definitely a TV title teased right now, maybe sometime next year. Personally, I think they should have a middleweight championship or a light heavyweight championship. I don't know, personally, if I was a wrestler, I wouldn't want to hold the title with the word light in it. I'd rather be called a middleweight champion than a light heavyweight champion. But whatever. Anyway, the AEW needs a mid-card championship. And if they do have that, I think that these two guys should be involved. I would say Joey Janela should be involved too, but he needs to. He hasn't shown people what he can do yet. He hasn't had a regular one-on-one match. I mean, he was in a triple threat at Fight for the Fallen. He was in a triple threat at All In. At Fyter Fest, he was an unsanctioned hardcore match. He was on another unsanctioned hardcore match on another episode somewhere. I'm not going to give away a spoiler. But he hasn't had a one-on-one regular plain Jane match yet. Until you have that, you don't know what a guy can do. So until I see that, I'm not going to say that Joey Janela should be in the TV title picture. So because of that, right now I'm saying these would be the two top candidates for the TV or mid-card championship once that comes in. Because I can't be sold on these guys going for the heavyweight title. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't see, like, when Darby Allin was going against Chris Jericho, there was no way I'm buying him winning. I'm sorry. He's just not big enough. Then Britt Baker versus Rio. That was obviously a storyline match. I'm not going to review that because there is no women's tag division right now. Not reviewing that. The only reason why this match happened was Britt versus Bea Priestley and the Black Eye. That's the only reason why that match happened. Britt Baker versus Bea Priestley. And how Britt Baker walked out of it with a black eye. That was a storyline match. That's all that was. That was a storyline match, which makes sense, and I would rather have storyline matches than all this bullshit skits. It's true, because it counts as a... See, that's another thing I gotta say. Unless Britt Baker and Rio are gonna tag up and become a tag team and win the belts together, unless that happens, then this tag win doesn't count. These one-off tag matches, unless the two people are going to tag again, unless Dustin Rhodes and Hangman Page are going to tag again, unless Britt Baker and Rio are going to tag again, you know what I mean? Unless Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara are going to tag again, then the wins that those teams get don't matter. I mean, I don't think it's fair for you to come out with Britt Baker and Rio and wrestle a tag match and win, and then after that, Britt Baker comes out with Shida, and that tag team is considered 1-0. No, that's stupid. They're obviously only done for the storyline. But I'd still rather have the match than the stupid soap opera bullshit that the WWE has. Like, no, it's just stupid. So this was a storyline match. I'm not reviewing it. There's no tag division. There's no tag championships. What came out of it was Britt Baker getting a black eye from Bae Priestley, and now that feud is being developed and ongoing, which is great. I'd like to see more of Sadie Gibbs. I only saw her once. Apparently her and Bae Priestley got into it backstage, but in business today, because of social media and everything else, you never know what's real and what's not anymore. Alrighty, so that's that. Jon Moxley and Shawn Spears. Now, a lot of people would say that this match was a disappointment. It should have been better, but I don't say that. It didn't disappoint me because I had no expectations for it. Jon Moxley is a very popular talent. He's arguably one of the top 3 popular talents in AEW. I think the top 3 popular talents in AEW right now is Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, and Jon Moxley, interchangeably. Jake Hager might be in there, which he can wrestle after October 25th, because October 25th he's having his 3rd match in Bellator. I can't remember the opponent, but you can find it online. Just type in Jake Hager Bellator, and then it'll come up. But anyway, Jon Moxley is a big personality. He's a big star. He deserves to be a star. He's a former WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Shawn Spears, or Ty Dillinger, in his run in WWE, is what he was called. Here is called Shawn Spears. But for this match, I wasn't let down because I had no expectations. I haven't seen Jon Moxley do anything besides brawl. Punches and hits and kicks and send a guy throwing and a clothesline. And like, he might do a snap suplex or like the paradigm shift, which is somehow modified to DDT. I don't know how that's modified to DDT, but whatever. But I haven't seen him do anything technical. I haven't seen him do anything from the realm of amateur wrestling. I haven't seen him do anything overly complicated. I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing him do any submissions or anything. He's just a straight up brawler to me, and I find that boring. And Shawn Spears is good. He has power. He has agility. I mean, it's good that the match had no flips or anything. I know I mentioned that, but I'm so sick of it in AEW. I mean, Shawn Spears did a fisherman suplex. He was like this, and then they were in the corner, like this is the end chair, and this is the corner, and Shawn Spears had Jon Moxley up like this, then ran and slammed Jon Moxley into the steel barricade that keeps the fans away from the ring, which was really cool, and that looked like a hurt. Holy Jesus, that was nice. And Shawn Spears does stuff like that. And I actually like Shawn Spears more than Jon Moxley, because Shawn Spears actually wrestles and does maneuvers. All Jon Moxley does Sean Spears wrestles and does maneuvers. John Moxley just brawls. He might do like a little power move here and there, but most of the time he punches and kicks and sends you running, and that's about it. And he'll dive at you. I don't know, man. I give this a 5 out of 10. It didn't really surprise me. There was nothing great about it. It wasn't a failure, but it wasn't good either. To me, the only good stuff out of the match that I saw that was entertaining or took any real talent came from Sean Spears. There was no feud. There's no feud or storyline possibility out of it at all. It was just a match that counted towards John Moxley's record. I think Sean Spears is owed a match because he's 0-2 now. So he lost that all out against Cody Rhodes, and then on the second episode, Sean Spears lost against John Moxley. John Moxley right now is 1-0 because his match against Joey Janela at Fyter Fest didn't count. It was an unsanctioned match. Yeah, which is stupid, which is really dumb. I think those matches should count. I don't know why they don't count. I mean, you talk about a Philadelphia street fight against Chris Jericho and Darby Allin. I mean, they could have used anything they wanted in that match. They could have used tables and ladders and chairs and irons and dildos or whatever. They could have, and it would have counted. So if they're doing that, then why doesn't these unsanctioned matches count? Whatever. Anyway, that match was 5 out of 10. All the good stuff I saw came from Sean Spears. John Moxley just basically brawled. I mean, there was a few pickups and slam moves and a couple of dives and stuff, but that was about it. It wasn't a whole lot. It was mostly him brawling. That wasn't great. And then Sammy Guevara and against Dustin Rhodes and Hangman Page. This match was surprising because it had a lot of one-on-one action. There wasn't really a whole lot of tag team. There wasn't really a whole lot of like double team, tag team offensive maneuvers, like double teaming somebody and pulling off one type of slam or something like that. It was a lot of like one-on-one type of going against each other type of action. But it also really showcased the chemistry between Dustin Rhodes and Page. I mean, they double teamed Sammy with individual moves. Like Page, Hangman Page hit Sammy Guevara with a running jumping punch to the jaw, but he made it look better than the Superman punch. He actually made it look real. And then Dustin Rhodes grabbed Sammy Guevara and he picked him up, and then he fell with him. He grabbed Sammy Guevara like this, and then he picked him up. Sammy Guevara's back was here, and then he fell with him, and Sammy Guevara landed on his back, and then Hangman Page was there, and when Sammy Guevara landed, he ran and did a running shooting star press and landed on him. Like, that was a great double team. I was very surprised to see that kind of chemistry between two big singles competitors. That was really nice to see. But him and Sammy didn't really have any spots that were memorable. They mainly hit like clotheslines and punches and elbows between Page and Sammy. They didn't pick up Dustin Rhodes or Hangman Page at all. I think the majority of the great offense, the majority of the great moves, the majority of the great slams came from Dustin and Hangman Page. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara just basically brawled the whole time. There was interference from Jack Hager. He gave a hard, vicious clothesline to Dustin Rhodes outside the match. Then when Dustin Rhodes was in the match, he ran after Dustin Rhodes and punched him. So I think that's a possible feud. Jericho is also going after Chris. Dustin Rhodes is also going after Chris Jericho. I'm not quite sure on what that's built out of. Him against him. Chris Jericho has said that he thinks Dustin Rhodes is an idiot when Chris Jericho was doing the Inner Circle promo. I think Dustin Rhodes deserves to be the World Heavyweight. He should have been a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion in WWE, easily. To me, in my own personal opinion, He is the most underrated wrestler in the history of pro wrestling. Dustin Rhodes never getting the World Heavyweight Championship is one of the biggest, to me, the biggest crime in professional wrestling history in terms of people being denied championships and recognition. It's complete bullshit. But anyway, this was great because of what we talked on the previous episode of all the possibilities for Sammy Guevara to have problems with Cody Rhodes and the Elite and that. These two here, Dustin and Jericho, seems to be something that could have a possibility. That could seem to have a possibility. Justin and Jack Hager. To me, that's definitely going to happen. I do not see how that's not going to happen. I'm not going to start going off on Dustin Rhodes losing and putting people over all the damn time, which is complete bullshit. I could go off on that. That's a whole other video, okay? Anyway, this, as far as feuds go, because this was a storyline match, like I said. This was a storyline match, but the reason why I didn't review it is that there is no tag division, there is no women's tag team championship belts. This was a women's tag match, but there's no women's tag belts. There's no women's division. That's why I didn't review it. I only mentioned that Britt Baker got a black eye from Babe Priestley, and that whole match was to further this feud. But they didn't make them one-on-one. They're probably going to have them go against each other at Full Gear, which is good. They need to lighten up on the tag matches, man. I guarantee you the first episode of Dynamite in November is going to see a spike in ratings. It's the last episode before the pay-per-view, and the damn tag championships are going to be won from the previous episode. So I actually will say that the first Dynamite episode in November, if there's not a spike in ratings for that episode, if the ratings don't go up a bit for that episode, and if there's no basketball or baseball that night, or big matchups in those sports that are worth talking about, if there's none of that on the same night as the first episode of Dynamite in November, especially with it being after the Tag Team Championships, I wanted before the pay-per-view, with all that factored in, if that episode doesn't have a spike in ratings, then we're going to have a problem. Then AEW is going to be at the Proving Grounds, the Rocky promo, when he's talking to his son. But as far as Dustin Rhodes goes, this is two possibilities. This is a question mark. I was very surprised he didn't come out against Chris Jericho on the third episode when Jericho had his match against Darby Allin. I don't know why he didn't, but he didn't. Anyway, as far as Hangman Page goes, he didn't really develop a feud. There was no feud. I'll get it right. There was no feuds there. I didn't see any feuds that happened. Like I said, Hangman Page is apparently he's focusing on avenging his loss from Pac. So him against Pac from episode 2 seems to be the direction they're going with that, which is good because Dustin Rhodes seems to be getting involved in more. You know what I mean? He's involved with more. To me, Jake Hager should put Dustin Rhodes over in that feud because I am so sick and fucking tired of Dustin Rhodes losing. I'm so sick and tired of it, man. It doesn't make any sense. Like, he needs to stop putting people over. He's 50. Chris Jericho's only 48. He's 48. He's only 2 years younger than Dustin Rhodes. So don't give me this crap that Dustin Rhodes is so much older than him, because he's not. And he has character. And you know what, man? He's put everybody in the business over. When does it become his time? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. Personally, I think that what I'd like to see, what I would love to see, since this is definitely a feud that's, I think it makes sense to have this feud. It definitely does. I think they should have these two versus each other, and I think that it should be Dustin who gets the win. I think it should be Dustin who gets the win. Because that would give Dustin a huge win. That can push him on. That could push him on to the belt. But anyway, that match, I don't know, man. I give it a 6 out of 10. I give that match a 6 out of 10. I mean, like, all the maneuvers and all the power moves and all the slams and all the great offense and all the great chemistry that we saw came from this team. These two guys, Dustin and Hangman, they carried this match. All they did was brawls and strikes. Surprising. I thought we would have saw more from them, especially him. And maybe even him from what I saw from him in the first episode, but whatever. It was a storyline match. It wasn't really a match to make them tag partners. So I give that a 6 out of 10. I give this a 5 out of 10. I give this a 7 out of 10. I give this an 8 out of 10. So overall, I would say this. I would give this the same score as the last episode. I mean, we had 2 storyline matches. This I didn't review because there is no women's tag division or championships, but there is for a men's, so that's why I reviewed this one. But it still created a continued storyline, so that's what we're gonna see down the road. And this here, the Young Bucks tag tournament lost, which was very surprising. But anyway, that's Private Party advancing. Darby Allin gets his World Heavyweight Championship title shot. Britt Baker and Babe Priestley hate each other even more. Shawn Spears is the one who carried that match. Jon Moxley is just a stiff brawler, in my own worthless opinion. This match here, I think, was to develop storylines personally. And I think that Dustin versus Jack Hager is a match we're going to see at All Out. I really do. I don't see how we could avoid it. But anyway, that is that episode. I'm going to review the 3rd episode, and then we're going to talk about what I think. We're going to talk about what I think are going to be some matches that we're going to see at All Out. I think we're after this episode, we started seeing some possibilities. After the 3rd episode, we're going to talk about some matches that are probably going to happen at All Out. I mean, I know right now there's still the episode on the episode. 2 more episodes actually this month, 5 in October, and then there's another one in November before the pay-per-view. So I mean, that's right now. If I had a look at freaking calendar, we have. That's surprising. We have actually 3 more episodes of Dynamite before the pay-per-view happens. So these storylines can continue. But even still this early, I think we're starting to see some matches that might happen at Full Gear, but we'll get into that later. Thanks, man.